Welcome to another edition of the TSS podcast, brought to you in association with Luke 1977 and Bowden and Dolphin, with your hosts Rob Carless from Bob's Books and the legend that is Shaun Teale. He's here, there, and everywhere, and he's Tealey saying something.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the TSS podcast. You all know the abbreviation by now. It is the Teale Saying Something podcast, something that myself and Shaun Teale came up with about a year ago, and it's gone from strength to strength since, especially with the fact that we've got a beautiful studio in Solihull in Birmingham. And notice there that I did say Solihull in Birmingham there, Chris. And it's going really well between the three of us. We've got a lot of guests that come on. We talk Villa to start off with, and then we open up to a more generic football conversation. So I can see that Mr. Shaun Teale is not in the country again, Chris. Shaun, where are you?
I'm in Spain yet again. I'm at the brother-in-law's, chilling out in 27 degrees because it's too cold in England.
Right, so when you or Carol phone up to speak to the brother-in-law, or Carol's brother, I can imagine them at the other end of the phone going, "Oh, God, they're going to come over again." I bet. What are we going to say to them to stop them coming over? Is that what happened?
You'd be absolutely mortified to say that it's them asking us to come over every time.
Right.
So
Okay.
I get the phone call off Browne, her brother, Carol's brother, and he'll say, "When are you coming back out?" And I'll go, "Well, when do you want us to come?" And we just organise it. To be fair, it's been a bit different this time because Browne came over to England for 4 days last week. Because he wanted to go to Hill Dickinson Stadium to watch Everton get smashed to pieces by Spurs.
Oh, what a game.
As I text him during the game, it's not for everyone beating Spurs. So he really enjoyed his visit to the new stadium. He says it's fantastic. But they do a stadium tour, much as Villa do. But their stadium tour is £25. It lasts an hour.
Yeah. Well, they are going to charge that type of thing now, aren't they?
Well, we do a tour and it lasts 3 hours at Villa. Wow. It's £24.
£24. It's free at the Blues.
Yeah, but I guess
it will be at the Blues. It will be at the Blues because you need a tin hat on.
Yeah.
I think the thing with the Hill Dickinson stadium, I still can't get away from Goodison. But there you go. The thing about it is because it's so brand new, people are not going there for the trophy room, and I mean I know that they've got a decent trophy room.
What trophy room?
Yeah, but they're going there for the experience of having this new stadium, aren't they?
Of course. I mean, as far as trophy rooms go, it's a bit like Birmingham City, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's nothing in it.
There's no dust on ours there.
Do you know what he's going to start doing in a minute? He's going to start saying, "Have you won something in the 21st century?"
Or even in HD.
HD. Oh, he's funny. Now, listen, one thing I've got to do is obviously thank our sponsors as well. So that's Luke's 77 and also Bowden and Dolphin signs. I haven't done that for the last couple of weeks and I've had my knuckles wrapped about it. So much thanks to those guys that obviously believe in our product that we've got. So thank you for that. And I will say it at the end of the show as well. So you mentioned Spurs there, and you've mentioned the fact that you're in Spain. Last time we spoke, when we had the illustrious Henry Winter with us, I told you I was going away for a stag weekend. And I've got
to Portugal.
Oh, yes, to Portugal. And I've got the scars to prove it as well. So I actually stayed out very late on the last day. Don't know why I did that. My brother, who's the same age group as us gentlemen on here, was going home at a decent time. And I decided to stop out and I fell over and I've cut all my knee. So, I've got all the plasters over it and things like that. So, yeah, I've got the scars.
Have you got Christmas plasters over it?
I've told you, even though I've got the white beard, I'm still not coming to your house. There's absolutely no chance. Anyway, did you put Browne up? Since he puts you up all the time in Spain.
Of course. Of course we did.
Yeah, I bet. How much do you reckon Browne, how much do you reckon he charged them? It's got to be a bit, ain't it?
Yeah,
You know what our Tealey's like. You know what he's like. So yeah, I was in Spain and I was there to watch us beat Spurs. Very, very good performance. That second goal was absolutely incredible. For me, it will go down as possible. I think it'll go down as goal of the month. If not, it will be a big contender for the actual goal of the season at some point. Although I have to say, Crystal Palace's second goal yesterday against Liverpool was really, really Barca-esque from for 10, 15 years ago. But Shaun, what did you think about our win? We've kept up the momentum after having a bad start to the season. We've now won four on the
Yeah,
trot in the league. Two games where I thought we might get a couple of points, Spurs and Man City. We've won them.
yeah. I thought Spurs we were very good. It was good to see Morgan Rogers back in the swing of things a little bit with a great finish. I mean, he hit it so sweet, the keeper had no chance. And then little Emmy Buendia comes on and just full of energy. That was the thing that I noticed about Emmy Buendia. He came on and he was like, I've got a point to prove. And he buzzed around the pitch and ended up, I mean, you just look at the goal itself. Matty Cash's volley to Luca Dean was perfect. Luca Dean's touch was immaculate. And then Emmy Buendia stepped inside and finished in the bottom corner.
He
And a
meant that
fabulous.
pass, didn't he? He meant that pass.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because I think if you look at the replay, John McGinn's telling him to go home, go back to Martinez, because we're 1-1. The last thing you want to do is get turned over 2-1 at home, so away from home. So a really good performance. And then obviously we had the midweek Europa Cup, which to be fair, it was a strange one because we went one up after 4 minutes. We probably should have been four up before they even kicked a ball, and they were poor. But we just, for whatever reason, we sat on our laurels and ended up getting beat 2-1. But at least that's not the be all and end all in that cup. Look at Liverpool last year; they won every game, finished top of the group in the Champions League, and then got the worst draw in the world. So sometimes it's not all about just winning every game. Sometimes it's just about qualifying and getting a decent draw. And then, of
Another
course, I was at Villa Park last weekend for the City game, which I thought we were really, really good. I have to say, I thought City had a lot of the ball, usual City type of play, moving the ball around side to side, back and forward. But we defended so resolutely. We deserved it. We deserved the victory in the end. I thought Anana was magnificent. I thought Konsa was magnificent. And it would be very hard to have given anybody less than sort of an 8 out of 10 personally.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Anana just absolutely ruled the show. And quite rightly, you talk about Konza and a few of the other players that played well there. But I thought Anana just put it. The one thing that epitomised his performance for me was when he got hit in the face, when he went down for the when City looked like they were going to get back in the game. But on Talk Sport, they've been saying recently that if you stop Haaland, you stop Man City, and I think I think this. What do you think of that, Shaun? I think there's some truth in it at this moment in time, personally.
There's a bit more. There's a bit more to it than that. I mean, if you look at the Haaland stats for the game against Villa, he touched the ball 9 times. 9 times in 90 minutes. That's once every 10 minutes. That's ridiculous. How can you? You've got to be feeding your centre forward that's banging goals in left, right, and centre. He's got to be getting more service than that, surely. I mean, he had the one chance that he did put away, but the lad was offside. And that's what Haaland's all about. He always appears to be in the right place, right time. I mean, he had a great chance first half where he got down the side of, I think he got down the side of Pau Torres and Konsa came across and he got the shot in. But luckily for us, Martinez had read where he was going to put it across him and saved well. But apart from that, they knocked on the door, and we literally stood there and defended man for man brilliantly.
Henry Winter was on, as you know, a couple of weeks ago, and he was, when we were talking about England and the last few games under Tuchel, Konzat is in that 11 at this moment in time, and he's really proving it as far as I'm concerned.
Got to be. I mean, for me, the best two centre-backs in the Premier League at the moment are Mark Gahey and Ezri Konsa.
Absolutely.
and they match up perfectly because they're both strong, they're both physically strong, they've both got a bit of pace, and they can both play.
Yeah, and I think with Konzat being able to play at right back as well, that does give Tuchel some options when we do get to America, Mexico, and Canada next year.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, those players that can play in multiple positions, I think, are always a bonus for a manager, and especially an international manager. If he's got an injury to a right back, he's got Konsa there. If he's got an injury to left back, he's got two or three options now. Um, Morgan Rogers can play as a 10. He's got Cole Palmer could come back in. He's got other players can go in there. So he has actually, at the moment, he has got such a squad to pick from. It's frightening. And it's all about, at the end of the day, Thomas Tuchel picks the right squad.
Yeah, yeah. Going back to the Europa League game against Go Ahead. We mentioned that it was a bad performance, but really we should have had them out of sight in that first half. I thought,
Oh.
and it was interesting to see what was being said on social media. I thought there was a bit of arrogance with Villa that night, Shaun.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. I think probably the worst thing that could have happened is we went one up after 4 minutes,
Yeah,
and then I think you sit on your laurels a bit. I mean, until they scored their first goal, which was what, the 39th, 42nd minute, something like that. They were never even a threat. It was like a training ground game. We were just coasting. We were just passing the ball, creating chances. I mean, Gessard should have had a second. Watkins should have had his first. Both 1-on-1 with the keeper. Emi Buendia was unlucky with the ball that came to him quickly in the box. But we had chance after chance after chance. And it just proves you've got to take your chances while they're there. If you don't, then, you're liable to get kicked up the backside.
you mentioned two players there. First and foremost, Evan Gasson, or I probably
Mm.
pronounced that completely wrong. You know what I'm like with these
Yeah,
pronunciations.
we
Um,
know.
is he getting a bit of a bad time off for the fans at this moment, Shaun? He
Yeah, well,
seems to be he seems to be the one that people are going to and
you know,
saying he's
you
not
know
playing
the
very
the
well.
one the one thing about Evan is if you watch him live in a game, what he does do really well is he tracks back and supports us defensively wise. Does it really really well because he's obviously a fit lad, can get around the pitch. What I would say Villa fans will be disappointed is he hasn't created anything.
Yeah,
He seems to have this thing where he either takes the ball and tries to go too far with it, or he falls over. He has a habit of falling on his backside, which is a bit weird. But he's a young lad. The Premier League's difficult, as I know, to come into blind, sort of, and it's going to take him time. And I'm sure there's a big player in there. I saw the video clips before he signed or as he signed, and he was receiving the ball to feet. He was turning players. He was running at players. The other thing I'd say is he's not playing in his preferred position because he's playing out wide. When his preferred position is playing down the middle. Um, so I suppose that also is something he's got to deal with. Um, and let's face it, Unai Emery doesn't play a normal type of football. He plays his own. He plays his own tactical way of playing, and it'll take people a lot of time to get used to it. Take Harvey Elliott for instance. He's played 167 minutes or something like that, and he's barely got a game. And all you ever hear from the manager is he's not up to speed yet. He's working hard. He's not quite there yet. He's working hard. He's not quite there. So the way Unai plays the game, he wants people to be ready to go from the start. And I think probably with Evan, he's been thrown in a little bit earlier than probably he should have been.
yeah.
And it's tough. It's tough on him. As a young lad, it's tough. He's probably trying to suck all the information in during the week to play at a weekend. And he's probably, to be fair, he's probably drained of taking all the information in because, according to everybody who speaks about how Emery goes about it, you are harangued with shed loads of information day after day after day, and you've got to be able to suck it up. You've got to be a sponge, basically.
Yeah, yeah. Just one final thing on Villa, just before we move on to our guest for tonight. What's happened to Emmy? Obviously, we all looked aghast when he was limping off on Sunday. Have you heard anything about any injuries at all there, Shaun?
Well, the only thing I've heard is that it doesn't look good, and he could be 6 to 8 weeks. That's what I've heard. It's an ankle injury, and it could take a while to heal. It's
Okay.
fingers crossed. Fingers crossed, because he's in the form of his life for us at the moment. He's never
Absolutely.
played for Villa, and
Uh,
we need him in the team.
when he's Yuri Tillman's back, because that would be a replacement for me.
He
If
must he must be very, very close now.
yeah,
Because he's been out a good 6 weeks now. So Yuri's got to be really close. I mean, obviously having Ross Barkley back's a bonus as well,
yeah, true.
because it gives people the rest. Lamar Bogard has done really well when he's played. So it's not we're not struggling for players, because we've got a lot of fit players. But some of those that you'd class as, take Yuri for instance. Best player last year, best player at the club last year
Yeah,
by a million miles. He kept everything ticking. When he started this season, he looked a bit below par. Picks the injury up, and it's fingers crossed that he's used that time to work on his fitness and come back flying, because that's
yeah,
what we need.
yep. And of course, we got Liverpool on Saturday at midnight, or whatever time they're playing this game. Ridiculous, as always. But we'll come on to that in a minute, because there's a bit of a link there with one of our guests, Chris. Just before we do move off and talk about what we need to talk about this week, I'm hearing that Chris Davis at your place at Birmingham, his position is a bit shaky at this moment in time. Agree or disagree with that?
Completely disagree. I
And I
think,
don't.
I think, as you said earlier, I think it's just a few keyboard warriors. No, I don't. The general consensus is that he's there for the long run.
In my eyes, to finish mid-table in the Championship would be a
Yeah,
really good return for
that's
Birmingham.
right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and I think
What you
that's
don't want to do is build too quickly and then come back down again. You know how that
no.
works.
Crikey, if we went up this season, we just we'd be down on record points, wouldn't we? Next
Well,
season.
I'm not sure about that, but
But
I do
we won't
think
go up. We won't go
I
up.
do, I do think some stability is worth
Of
it for
course,
you.
yeah. Do it the way Coventry have done it.
Exactly, exactly. And there's another link to one of our guests for tonight. So, apart from Birmingham losing this weekend and Villa winning, the other good thing was, just have to get that in there, is that Sheffield Wednesday fans are in a much better position this week due to the administration that happened on Friday. If I'd have spoken to Sheffield Wednesday people this time last week, it might not have been a very positive outcome. But I think the fact that they've now gone into administration, taken the points deduction, and Chancery has really uplifted the place. And you only had to look at the fans at Hillsborough on Saturday. It was great to see people spending in the club shop again, whereas before this, there was big demonstrations outside telling fans, to spend outside and not inside. And it's a club that, is respected, and it's got a great history. And it's really good to see
They had
Sheffield in
they had
that
a big,
place there.
they had a big open training session at Hillsborough,
They
didn't
did.
they? And
Yeah, they
thousands
did.
turned up,
I did,
Yeah,
thousands.
yeah, saw that, yeah.
yeah,
They're a
yeah.
huge. It's a huge club,
Massive,
Rob, and
yeah.
we can't be letting clubs like that go the
No,
way they're going. It's just not right. Something's got to be done.
no.
The biggest laugh I had was the fact that the day they went into administration, they started ripping the seats out that spelled his
Oh,
name in
yeah.
Chancery. So,
Yeah, that
with,
was that
with,
was that was absolutely great to see. And of course,
yeah,
you and I've
yeah,
got a connection with Hillsborough, Shaun, as you made your Villa debut there in
I did.
1991, and we were the
Yeah,
first fans back into Leppings Lane
Mm.
after
yeah,
after
yeah,
what happened in 1989. So it was that's a very special day, Shaun, for both of us in
yeah,
terms of that. So guests for this week then. So I've got what I want to do is a couple of weeks ago we spoke to the BBC correspondent Adrian Goldberg about his new book called "Where's the Money Gone? The Battle for the Soul of English Football." Primarily, he based it on what was going on in the Midlands clubs. And one of the last questions I asked him was, "Have you mentioned Sheffield Wednesday?" And he went, "No." So this is a real good time for us to, to bring some representation from Sheffield in there. And I'm delighted to say that we have the one and only Chris Kirkland, who played for Sheffield Wednesday from 2012 to 2015. I know that because I wrote his book, which I will constantly talk about during this the last half hour or so of this
Yeah, you
show.
probably will.
And we've also got a gentleman by the name of Gareth Castick as well, who has got something to do with Sheffield Wednesday, but he's also chairman of Bury Football Club. And of course, while we're talking about clubs that have gone under, that has happened to Bury, and they're no longer a league club at this moment in time. So it's a really good basis to bring both of them in at this time as well. So welcome, Gareth, and welcome, Chris Kirkland.
Welcome, man. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, no, not a problem at all. Right, let's just continue with the theme of Sheffield Wednesday then. So, as an ex-player for them, Chris, you must be delighted what's gone on in the last couple of days.
Well, yeah, it's been needed, isn't it? I think it's more for the fans have suffered massively. The players suffer, but it's more the people behind the scenes, the real workhorses that run football clubs. People that have been at these clubs for years and years and years behind the scenes that only people within the club know what they do for the players, but also for the club. I've been in contact with Lindsay, the club secretary. She's been there for 20 odd years, and what they've had to put up with over since his tenure shouldn't happen. Shaun said it before. The way where it got to, it just should never get to that point. So if anything's got to be learned from this, there's got to be new rules and regulations. I know there is rules and regulations, but they don't seem to matter when we've seen teams go into administration many times before. And I'm sure it will carry on, but there's got to be something because, for those people behind the scenes that have got mortgages to pay, bills to pay, listen, the players are affected, yes, but nowhere near to the extent that the staff are at the club and the people behind the scenes. So something's got to, if anything comes from this, something's got to be done behind, from the authorities, whether it will be or not sure. But listen, there's still a long way to go. It's not all fixed. I know they've gone into administration, but there's a long, long way to go before. But whoever comes in and buys that club, they've got one hell of a club because they've got, one of the best fan bases around, particularly in that league. They've got an old-fashioned stadium, which I love the old-fashioned stadium. People say, well, it probably needs a new stadium, but when Hillsborough's rocking and when it's full to the capacity, there's not many better grounds better than that. So everything's there but obviously they're in dire situation and they've been put in a situation where whoever comes in, they're going to need big pockets. But I'm sure and hope that somebody will come in and take it over because, as I say, the fans, you won't get many better fans than the Sheffield Wednesday fans.
And I think the players have been brilliant as well. Not getting paid for playing, and one of our ex-players, Barry Bannon, has been a quite vocal supporter of Sheffield Wednesday, and I think he's going to go down in legendary status for this. They've had some horrible tags like they've been known as the volunteers in the last couple of weeks in games that they've had, which is does a lot of disservice to Sheffield Wednesday, but how coarse football can be at times. It is good to see, and I think that the light at the end of the tunnel is there for them. Only today on the news, Michael Vaughan, the ex-England cricketer and big Sheffield Wednesday fan, has put his two penny worth in as to who he thinks could be taking over. And interestingly, one of the names put forward has been Mike Ashley today. The rumours coming out of the Ashley camp is that he's seen what has happened to Newcastle since he sold his shares in the club, and he wants to really take a club forward now on that one. Chris, what's your opinion of people like Mike Ashley coming in and taking over the reins at Sheffield Wednesday?
Well, listen, I don't know enough about him, but what he did at Newcastle, I know he had his fors and against in it at Newcastle, but I think he's left them in certainly a much better position than when he took over them. I know he's not been there for a while, but I think what he did, the way he does business, some people won't like, but I think when you're in a situation like Sheffield Wednesday are now, I think you need somebody to come in. But first and foremost, he's going to take care of the club. But listen, he's a businessman. It's running football clubs these days, these businesses. So, they're going to make decisions, they're going to make tough decisions, but hopefully that's not to the detriment of the club and the staff within it. So, I mean, listen, as I said, I don't know Mike Ashley, but I know what he did at Newcastle. And from the outside, you've got to say that it looked like he did a hell of a job. got them out of a mess. They're competing for Champions League now. And I'm not saying that's all down to him, but I'm sure there'll be many parties interested. But like I said, that someone's got to have big pockets because it needs a big cash injection. And, we're talking tens of millions to get them back to hopefully one day where everybody wants them to be.
Yeah, I think the fans can see the end, the light at the end of the tunnel, as we've discussed. It is going to take quite a long time for them, and if Mike Ashley is the person to take it forward, then so be it. But I guess there are two or three others that are interested as well in taking them over. So Sheffield Wednesday can see the light at the end of the tunnel. They're up, possibly will go down this season. But start again for next season with brand new owners and a brand new identity and all that kind of stuff. One such club. Go on.
I think it's small steps now for Sheffield Wednesday, isn't it?
Yeah.
You take your medicine. If they go down, which I hope they don't, it would be great to see them survive. But if they do go down, then it's all about trust, then, isn't it? It's about whoever comes in to run the club. It's all about everybody, the fans, the players, the staff. They've got to have a trust in whoever comes in because they've worked over the last 3-4 years with zero trust, really, because half the time, they didn't know whether they were going to get paid or not. And it's got to that stale place where they just need someone who's not going to promise everything and come up with nothing. They need someone who's going to proactively build the club again from, where it is now, the ashes of where it is now to being the big club it is. That it's going to be tough for them because they've got a very, very young team. I mean, a lot of them are basically kids playing in the Championship and learning the trade as they're going on. And Chris will tell you as much as I know. That's difficult when you're very young to be thrown in at that depth, and the Championship is rigorous to say the least. They need some support. Them kids who are playing need some support. Having Barry Bannon is such a bonus because he's such an old head on great shoulders. Barry talks are great. When you listen to Barry talk on TalkSport and things like that, he's always very clear on what he thinks should happen. And whoever takes over is going to have to fall onto Barry and get Barry's experience to help them through it.
Yeah, most definitely. Let's hope that does happen. As Chris has said there, Hillsborough is a great old-fashioned stadium. I long for the days where Villa Park and Hillsborough are chosen again for FA Cup semi-finals away from Wembley. We all know that's not going to happen, and I guess that's from a purist point of view. But it was
that's
great.
That's because the FA can't run their own ship because they're skint as well.
Yeah, they're very true. Very true. Okay. So the darker sides to this are clubs like Bury, who went into administration, I believe, in 2019/2020, just before we had the lockdown and the COVID stuff, which was a double whammy for Bury there. I believe they're in the 8th tier of English football at this moment in time. A very respected club, and obviously we all know that they play at Gig Lane. What we do have is Gareth on the phone now, who is now the chairman of the club. So, Gareth, give us a breakdown of what happened at Bury back in those days, and where they are now, and what you're doing to, get them back into the league as much as we can do.
So I think, the warning signs sort of started to come to fruition in 2015, 2016 time. We were signing players that were well above, the level that realistically we were signing. We were getting the likes of Jermaine Beckford coming in. We were outbidding Sheffield United for Jay O'Shea. These were sort of established Championship players that were coming to Bury on average crowds of sort of 3,500, 4,000 at best. So something sort of started to not add up, and ultimately, I think the owner at the time reached for the stars, wanted to get to the Championship, saw that as the sort of the end of the golden rainbow, and the reality was that we couldn't maintain that level of spending. There wasn't the revenue and the income coming in, and sadly, that owner sold it to Steve Dale for £1, and he essentially came in and looked to, in my view, liquidate the club.
What does that do to a community like Bury? I mean, obviously we've heard about what's been going on at Morecambe in the last 12 months or so. You know, from a smaller community thing, Gareth, what does that do?
Well, it's absolutely devastating, and as it happens, we recently reached out to all the Morecambe fans and invited them to one of our games, and they came in for free, and they had about 300 or 400 fans come down. That was before they got the takeover, because we just knew how they'd be feeling. Kind of when you support a football club like you guys support Villa, if someone was to say tomorrow it would be taken away, how would you feel about that? It's your football club's the one kind of constant in your life that you almost expect that you are going to be able to go and pay your money at the turnstiles and meet up with your friends, meet up with family, and enjoy the match or endure it if you're not having a good game. But you expect to be able to do it. So the impact on some of the fans, look, for some people, it's a massive, massive part of their life. So you take that away, and it leaves a hole that people really sort of struggle to fill. But then you look at the community impact, sort of the local pubs that are reliant on kind of match day revenue. They've really, really struggled, not having anybody coming through the doors. There's some heartbreaking sort of stories there. I know that Chris mentioned, at Wednesday, a lot of the staff and the impact on the staff. And I know our groundsman, Mike Curtis, even though we've been kicked out of the league, he was still going in every day and caring for the pitch months after. And you just think that's just unbelievable, really, isn't it? He wasn't getting paid at that point. He was doing it because it was his passion and it's sort of his baby. And, for someone to take that away, it's really difficult.
That's beautiful when you hear that people do that in the community. Football has lost its soul quite a lot, and I think 1992 onwards, as and we can all go into the details of the Sky stuff and things like that. But it is great to when you hear stories where people are, in clubs of it, dark times, and the community sticks together over it. I can't imagine what that's like as a Villa supporter. One of the bigger clubs in the football league, and I guess you'd say the same as well, Chris, with your fan base.
When you think about it, Villa got very close to being in desperate trouble under Tony Jai, because obviously he came in, bought the club for we don't know how much, but had no money. It was only the fact that our current owners stepped in and bought us out off him that we survived, because we were about to be wound up by the Inland Revenue.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, so you look at Villa supporters, and I bet if you asked them about it now, they'd have been sat at home going, "What the hell is going on?" Yeah. Because nobody knew what was going on, because nobody spoke about it. It was all done in the background. And then all of a sudden, Wes Edens and Nasser Sharif took over, and everything was rosy again. But without them two, we'd have been in desperate trouble.
Well, what about Birmingham City? They must have had more encounters with, the death knell than any other club.
Well, it's interesting that your game this weekend is Birmingham versus Portsmouth, and both sets of both clubs have suffered greatly since the bit of glory that the teams have had, 15, 16 years ago.
Like Chris said, something has got to be done to stop this happening, because it's happening too often now. Bury go out of existence. Morecambe almost went out of existence.
Yeah.
Accrington are playing on bare bones at the moment. They're in desperate trouble, and there's a lot of others at that level. Something's got to be done to fund these clubs, to help fund these clubs. And I suppose, the only way it's ever going to work is through the big clubs at the top looking after the smaller clubs at the bottom.
Well, that's not going to happen, is it?
Well, it does to a minimal fact now, but it needs to be. There needs to be more legislation that supports these clubs and helps these clubs. Whether it's the in and out revenue, whether it's this, whether it's that, something's got to be done, because we over the next 10 years we are going to see 10, 12, maybe 20 clubs go to the wall because they just can't afford to survive.
Yeah, I mean that doesn't happen. We at the start of the 21st century, we were talking about that kind of stuff. You know, where a lot more clubs are reaching for the stars and finding themselves, looking up from the gutter on that one. So let's hope it doesn't. But there is going to come a time, I guess, where it's going to get worse and worse. One great success story. We talk about Birmingham and Portsmouth there, and we talk about Sheffield Wednesday having a bit of light now. And we had Gareth talking about Bury. One great story at this moment in time, and I know that not all Villa fans will share this, but what Coventry City are doing, I think it's marvellous. I really, they really have suffered, haven't they?
Yeah. For years and years and years, they've suffered. Didn't even own their own ground, playing. No disrespect, playing at St Andrews as a shared ground, and not being able to support the players properly and the staff, and all of a sudden everything's turned on its head. They now own the stadium in Coventry. They've got a team that's flying, and they are flying at the moment.
Absolutely.
Scoring goals left, right, and centre, top of the league, and rightly so, top of the league. And for me, I remember the days of being at Villa and playing Coventry in what was classed as a local derby. And for me, I missed the local derby. So I miss the Birminghams, I miss the West Broms, I miss the Coventrys. So the sooner they all get back up, for me, the better the Premier League will be for Villa.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The more West Midlands clubs and Midlands clubs in general we get, the better there. But we've obviously mentioned Coventry. We've mentioned Sheffield Wednesday. We've mentioned Liverpool at the start of this, and obviously we've got them this weekend. We'll talk about predictions at the end of this. There is a common theme to that, and the fact that is that Chris Kirkland has played in goal for those three clubs, as well as teams like Wigan and West Bromwich Albion as well. Chris is about to launch his autobiography for the very first time in 2 or 3 weeks' time. It's superbly written. I've been given a copy of the book, so I can say that. I'm expecting a lot of urine extraction from Chris and Shaun there for even coming out with that one. But it's been a wonderful 6 months that I've spent with Chris talking about his story. And if people are familiar with the Chris Kirkland story, they will know that it's not just a football one. But there's also mental health and addiction issues which have come about as well. Chris, what made you want to write this book? I forced you to. Yeah, exactly.
No, listen, it's my by the way, it's my one and only book as well. So I'm not doing I think one's enough. Probably more for the stuff that you've just mentioned, the latter stuff, the anxiety, the mental health, and the addiction side of stuff. Because listen, I had a decent career, but you see some of the autobiographies out these days. Mine was nowhere near stand up to that if we're just talking about football. But I think with the real life stuff, and particularly since COVID, I think a lot of people are struggling since then with what happened with lockdown, all that sort of stuff, and it's been a big knock-on effect. So I've been asked a few times before you got in touch yourself with Curtis Sports and that, and just thought nobody's wants to read about the career or particularly the sports side of things. But then I think it was my daughter a year or so ago said, listen, she said that she loves books, like she can read 2 or 3 books a week, and she said I'd love to read, like, because obviously she knows bits and bobs from the career, but she was young obviously when I was playing, so more for that, and more for the fact that of the place I'm in now, I'm in a good place, and I've been for the last 3.5 years. If I wasn't, I don't think I would have done it, but yeah, I'm in a real good place and enjoying life. Still have tough days like we all do, but in general, things are really good. So, and I just think, for years to come, when Lucy's older and she can show her kids and stuff like that, I wanted to do it for that reason. But I mean, you think it's going to sell? I'm still unsure whether it's going to sell or not. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Oh, ye of little faith. It's going to sell. I mean,
But yeah, listen, you've made it easy as well, because I got asked a few times before, but you yourself, you've made it easy, Rob, and with Curtis Sports and Simon as well. We've had good laughs with Simon. I've been texting him every night saying I want to change this, I want to change that.
You have.
And I've been doing it just to wind him up most of the time. But yeah, you've made it really easy. So listen, you lot do all the work. It's trying to remember the stuff. That's the hard thing.
God, his head's swelling, isn't it?
To be fair, Chris, putting it with Rob on the phone every night does your head in as well. So it's good to
he's been absolutely fine. He's been fine. But no, I've enjoyed it. There's a lot of stuff in there that I forgot. So I've had to ask friends. I've leaned on Leona a lot, my wife, my daughter. So there's a lot of stuff that you do, because I can't remember what I did this morning, let alone flipping 15 years ago or whatever. So it's been nice remembering certain stuff, and it's also therapy as well. Because, like I say, it's been 3.5 years since I've been on any painkillers or antidepressants. Been off them for 3.5 years, and it's almost like let's get another 3.5 years and past that as well. So it is like a therapy. And all my friends have asked us, like, when I mentioned it, I said, "Yeah, do it." And so yeah, we'll see how it goes. Hopefully, it'll go great. I'm sure it will.
Before we go into the addiction part and what led on from there, obviously I know the full details of it, but give us your rundown of your career, from starting off in Leicester, playing all your school football, and then signing for Coventry. Do you give us a quick rundown of who you play for, mate?
I was an outfielder, so listen, always loved sports, always loved tennis, golf, football. Didn't like rugby. Played one game of rugby. I mentioned that in the book, and got hit into next week. I thought I'm never playing that again. That was at school, but I was an outfielder, so I used to play on pitch for the school, on pitch as a sub on Sunday League when I was growing up. And it was by accident, really, that the keeper got injured for the team I was playing for. I think it was Barwell at the time, 13-14, and I was the only one on the bench as an outfielder. And the manager said, "Look, you're going to have to go in goal. We've got no one else." And that's how it happened. So I was quite late from then to I got notes for the county. I went to Blaby and Whetstone, which is a team in Leicester, which if you're at Blaby and Whetstone, so things happen really quick. But I sort of took to it like a duck to water did. Got a lot of help along the way. My dad would take me down the park, never forced me. I'd always be saying, "Right, let's go and do shots," and he'd get back at work. He'd be working 12-hour shifts, and he'd still take me down the park or come in the garden with me. I had two brilliant coaches at Blaby and Whetstone, Nick Pearce and Paul Dannon. Probably he might have ref you, Shaun, Paul Dannon. Remember in the old Premier League, the old referee?
Yeah, he will have,
yeah. So them two were coaches, but they just went above and beyond for the lads at Blaby and Whetstone. And come on again from there, got noticed by Coventry, Leicester, struck up a great relationship with Oggy. And I was speaking to Oggy the other day, actually, yesterday. He rang us yesterday, and he was saying about Coventry, and he was saying Coventry are flying, yes, but they're doing it in such a style as well. He says they are playing incredible football and are blowing teams away. But yeah, started training with Oggy on a Wednesday night at the Wrightington Lodge, and then I had the choice between Leicester and Coventry. And bearing in mind that all my family are Leicester fans, and we used to go to Filbert Street for Monday night football. I mean, I'm a Liverpool fan. I always have been since 7 years old. But I chose to go to Coventry because of that relationship I had with Oggy. And then when I went to Coventry, I had Jim Blythe, the goalie coach, who struck up another brilliant relationship with. I was around experienced pros there, Dion Dublin, Gary McAllister, Brian Burrows, David Burrows, Roland Nielsen. And everything just kept going from the next level to the next level. So it was within the space of 4 or 5 years playing in goal, I was playing in the Premier League. So it was a rapid rise, but I'd always been, we went down, you mentioned Cov there, when the last went down, I was in that team when we got relegated at Villa Park, which was devastating, and they've never recovered from that. And what's that, 24 years ago? They've been close, obviously, a couple of times, got to play a final, but to see them back up, for those fans and those people behind the scenes, because there's still people working there now that were there in 2001 when they got relegated. So it would be amazing for the whole club if they did go back up. There's a long way to go, but they've given themselves a great chance. So yeah, I went to Coventry, then I was always supporting Liverpool, and ended up at Liverpool in 2001, and still Liverpool here now. I was at Liverpool 5 years, Wigan 6 years. Probably the best spell of my career was at Wigan, 2006 to 2010, under Paul Jewell, Steve Bruce. My goalie coaches was, you'll know them well, obviously Gary Walsh and Nigel Spink. It was brilliant with us. And then went to Sheffield Wednesday for 3 years. and then finished up at Preston. But he had to retire in 2016 through mental health and addiction, unfortunately. So it cost me. I mean, I was fit. I still am fit these days, but I mean, I could have carried on till I was 40. Maybe not at the top level, not about Premier League or anything like that, but I could have been involved until, and that was always my aim growing up. So I worked with Mike Pollitt at Wigan, and he was coming up to his 40, and I think I want to get past 40 because I've always had that competitiveness. So yeah, I mean, it forced me to retire way too early.
The book goes into the injuries that you sustained, and you were very unlucky with some of them that happened. And towards the end of it, you had the back problems, and you had the mental health, and you started taking tablets to help make it better. Do you want to just give a quick overview, Chris, of how that started and the 3 periods that you were addicted over the 10-year period? Do you want to talk about how that started for you?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it at Liverpool. It was unlucky when I left Liverpool. I mean, my fitness record at Wigan, at Sheffield Wednesday, was probably better than anyone's. You know, yeah, I had the odd back spasm here and there. The injuries at Liverpool, just unlucky. They were all collisions. Did my cruciate, broke my wrist in training. But it happens. But when you're young, you come back, and I did. Sheffield Wednesday was more. I mean, last 2 years at Wigan, I wasn't injured. I just wasn't preferred. So Ali El Absi was there. Roberto Martinez come in. We didn't see eye to eye. It was different training. The goalie coach was Spanish. It was different to what I was used to, and I just wasn't any good anymore. I was not the player I was because I was not doing the things that had got me there, like the training with Oggy and Jim and Nigel Spink. That was all gone. And when you've trained a certain way your whole career, somebody says, right, you're not training that way anymore. You're going to train the Spanish way, I suppose. I found it very difficult, coming off after 2 hours on the training pitch, not doing one dive. It's just so. The last 2 years at Wigan, I didn't play, but I wasn't injured. I was fit. So I went to Sheffield Wednesday, and obviously they were a little bit like, look, we know you've not played for 2 years. We want to cover ourselves with a clause in the contract. So they put a clause in the contract that. So I need to put my charger on it. They put a clause in the contract that said if I miss 4 games. They could rip the contract. So bearing in mind in the championship, that could be Saturday, Tuesday. I could have been out of contract. So there was no issues. I went there pre-season. I was flying. I did all full 7 weeks. But then 2 days before the first game of the season, I got a slight twinge in my back. And I was thinking, bloody hell, if I don't play here at the weekend, what are people going to think? But I was struggling big time with anxiety and the change of routine from being at Liverpool and Wigan. Being 15 minutes from both, I was commuting to and from Sheffield because daughter just started school. Didn't want to move. I was only on a year contract, so I wasn't going to move the family for a year contract. But I was dead anxious. I didn't want it to leave the house. I didn't want to go over to training. Once I was there, I was okay, but then I was thinking about getting home. So when I got all of these tablets, they made me less anxious, which they're not meant to do. But they took that anxiousness away and the way I was feeling at the start. So I started to use them then and thought, well, I'll only use them when I go to Sheffield. But we all know with addiction that it gets old very quickly, and it did. And then it just took over my life after about 3 or 4 months. I knew I was addicted because they were the first thing I thought about in the morning, the last thing at night. I was planning my day around, taking the tablets, where to hide them, where to keep them, where I could take them to training. I was taking them out on the training pitch in my glove bag. So they completely took over my life. The first year I could concentrate on the football during the games and the training. I played every single game the first year, more or less every single game the second year. But it was the second season, 2013-14, that around the January time, I just started to lose interest in football because the addiction was just messing me up mentally. But by then I didn't say anything, which is my biggest regret to this day. I wish I would have done because I know they would have helped me at the club. But I just kept it to myself, and it for the next 10 years, it ruined 10 years of my life, but also the family's life as well.
Did you? We all knew that you had mental health issues, but we didn't know about the addiction. And of course, you brought that out in 2022 when you was interviewed, or when you did a piece with Henry Winter for the Times as he was working for them. Then was that cathartic, letting it all out, Chris?
I had to listen. I retired in 2016, got off them. Started to miss the routine of being a footballer. Went back on them. Went to rehab in 2019. Never told anyone. And then I got back on them during lockdown again to dangerous levels. I should be dead. There's no doubt. I was on 2,500 milligrams of tramadol a day. I was on cocodamol. I was on solpadeine. They should have killed me, really. And it was April 17th, 2022 when I got some off the internet. So I think they were from India or something. Because I was taking that many, obviously just getting them from the doctors. I didn't have enough, so I was getting them off the internet. But these weren't. I don't know what they were, but they weren't tramadol. They just sent me mad and made me violently ill. My heart was beating out my chest. Slept for about 15 hours. Got up the next day, and then thought, right, this is it. I've got to come out and tell everyone now. Not for sympathy, not for pats on the back. Just so there's no hiding place. And to be honest, so I did. And then the things we put in place then, we went straight to the doctors. My wife's come with me. She said, do not give him any more. If he comes or rings for an appointment, you have to ring me, which they agreed to do, and that's still in place to this day. Drug tests at home have been the best things we've ever done. We were told to do them when we come out of rehab or not told, but advised to do them when we come out of rehab in 2019. Never did. But these we have now in the last 3.5 years, they've been the best thing we ever did, because knowing they're in the next room, knowing the girls can test me, which they do randomly, is always in the back of my mind, and that's been the biggest thing that's kept us off them. And then it's just about routine. Then it's just about routine. It's just being open, not knowing there's no hiding places, knowing that the club were unbelievable. With us, Sheffield Wednesday been brilliant. Liverpool, who obviously I do a lot of work for with the foundation, told the foundation, and they said, look, we'll do whatever you need. And having that support, I just wish I would have done it back in 2012. And a couple of times over the next 10 years, but I didn't for whatever reason. But I have done now, and thankfully things are really good.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I know the full story, and that's going to come out in the book, which is released on the 17th of November. I'll repeat that. It's released on the 17th of November for all our readers out there, listeners, and all that kind of stuff.
Is it the 17th of November, Rob?
17th of November.
Right,
absolutely.
right.
Yeah. We've got a few. Go on.
Going on to that, it's Chris's book's coming out, and also at the same time, around the same time, Bradley Wiggins has wrote his book.
Yes,
and they're on a very similar slant, aren't they? Because I listened to Bradley the other day on Talk Sport, and he was going on about his addictions, and now after he finished, he couldn't control it. He couldn't. I mean, Bradley obviously went got addicted to cocaine, of all things. And he spoke about how he was a complete and utter mess. And it wasn't until he came out and told somebody that his life turned around. But how he copes nowadays is he carries on training every day like he was still a world champion cyclist, because it's the only way his body knows how to work without cocaine. So, and that was, again, I'll read Chris's book and I'll read Bradley's book, because I think they'll both be inspiring books. And I think where Chris thinks it won't sell, I think you'll find it does sell, because people want to know, warts and all, about how people have gone through what they've gone through and come out the other side, because not everybody does come out the other side. So thankfully Chris has, and thankfully Bradley has. I've got one question for Chris. How's the golf?
To be fair, mate, I only play probably 10, 12 times a year, but when I do, it's not bad. Yeah, so we play in the Walking's Brilliant Golf Days. You'll have to try and get on one of them. So we do a lot of stuff with Walking Brilliance with Mark Crosley and a lot of the ex-players.
Yeah. But yeah, well, I've started playing in a lot more of those kind of golf things this year. I've never really had the time before now because of business, but I've started playing a lot more now because I really enjoy it. I really enjoy bumping into the lads we used to kick lumps out of and things like that,
Yeah, so I'll mention it to Gaz Marshall's the one that he organises all the days along with Dazzy Hardy. So yeah, I definitely do that. But I love the Ryder Cup. The Ryder Cup the other week was awesome. I've got a game next week. I'm playing next week. I've been asked to play next week at Formby Hall. But to be honest, mate, I've hardly got the time to do it with the stuff I do, which I love doing. That's another thing you just said there. So Bradley copes with training every day. I have to do exercise every day. That is a given for me. I have to do it every single day. I love walking. but also routine. I need to be busy.
Routine.
But I need to be busy every single day. And I am, with what I've got set up now with the foundation, with Veg Hill, we've got our own goalie academy with my daughter. I'm doing stuff with Trevor Stephen now for Mindflow. A lot of them talks as well. So there's not many days where I'm not full, but the days that I'm not, which is not very often, that's when I can struggle a little bit. I need to be busy.
Talking about being busy. Sorry, go on, Shaun.
That's all over my neck of the woods, Chris, because I'm in Taunton, just outside of Southport.
He wants a free ticket, Browne.
Posh part.
Yeah, free food. He wants everything.
Don't listen to this lot.
Yeah, whatever. Right, I know that you've got to go in a couple of minutes, Chris, with your busy schedule and you're back out with your training and things like that. Very quickly, we are starting to do book signing events at clubs that you played for, and on the 28th of November, we've got a bit of a Sheffield Wednesday gig. Now, I'll bring Gareth back into this. I want to ask him about what he does as how he's turned things around at Bury with the support in a minute. So on the 28th, we are at a social club in Sheffield, aren't we? With Colton Palmer, I believe David Hurst, and Rob Earnshaw is there as well.
John Sheridan.
Oh, and John
Sheridan, isn't it?
Okay, good.
I don't know more because we've sort of hijacked it, so Gareth will be able to tell you more.
Yeah, absolutely. Gareth, how did you get involved in Sheffield Wednesday?
I'm not involved in Sheffield Wednesday as such. The podcast, I think I knew Carlton, and the podcast kind of started to talk a lot about Sheffield Wednesday. And then we had the idea of doing the live show part in Sheffield, partly because of what was happening to Sheffield Wednesday and partly because of, my links with Bury and my kind of understanding of what the fans were going through, at Sheffield Wednesday. So the podcast itself that I'm working on is not just solely about Sheffield Wednesday. It's a football podcast that talks all things football. So probably not too dissimilar to what you guys are doing, in that it looks at tactics, it looks at the Premier League games from the weekend, and they use their punditry skills to kind of talk us through kind of what's happening in the Premier League and the big games. So, but I don't have any kind of direct links to Sheffield Wednesday as in that respect, other than through Carlton. And obviously the lad that I'm working with on the podcast, a lad called Dan Harris, he's making a film about Sheffield Wednesday at the moment, and about what's happened to the fans. And he's got a lot of ex-players and a lot of the supporters on camera, and he's telling that, I think it's called Fighting for Our Club. So he tells the story of kind of the impact from a Wednesday perspective.
Sounds interesting. So we've also got we mentioned this at the start. What have you done at Bury at this moment? Where are Bury at this moment in time? Obviously, you became chairman, I think, last year. So where are they now? Just very quickly.
So we're in the Northern Premier League. So we're in the 8th tier, as you said, and we're 100% fan-owned club. So that community that I was talking about, the community actually turned things around, came together, and brought the club back to life. And that's essentially what's happened. So everybody who's on the board at the club is a volunteer. We do have paid employees, but we won the league last season in front of nearly 9,000 fans back at Gig Lane. And it was an incredible kind of emotional moment to know that the club is on its way back and it's in safe hands. By paying a membership of £60 a year, each member gets a vote in all the major decisions around, the direction that the club's going in. So it's almost, it can give hope to some of the other clubs. And obviously Wednesday, they're such a massive club, such a massive fan base, they probably will realistically find a buyer. But some of the smaller clubs like Morecambe, there was a real possibility that Morecambe could have completely gone out of business.
Yeah.
And that model is there, and communities can come together and can create something quite special. And that's what's happened with Bury.
Well, let's hope that they do make that progression and get back into the Football League at some point. Sounds like you've very much got your head screwed on and take him in the right direction, which is absolutely brilliant. And let's hope that Sheffield Wednesday get back as well, which I'm pretty sure they will do. So, unfortunately, time has beaten us for this week. It's been a great show. Thanks to Chris for coming on and talking about your book and the brilliant writer that you've had working alongside you. Um, and Gareth for your insights, and we're very much looking forward to speaking at a later date with you as well. I just want to say thank you very much to Luke's 1977 and Bowden and Dolphin Science for obviously sponsoring us. See, I've done it twice for you now, guys. We'll be back in a couple of weeks' time. This show goes out on the 3rd of November, so we'll send you the link for everybody on that one. In the meantime, speak to you all soon and take care. Thank you.
Nice one.
Thanks, everyone.
Nice, everybody.
Take care. Bye.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Boys and girls.
How are we today? Look at him without his fucking top on. Jesus Christ. Hey.
Sick, buddy.
Well, just so I don't have to appear as a puppet again.
Oh, don't.
I think I prefer the puppet.
Yeah, go fuck yourself.
There you go. Hi, Gareth. How you doing?
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Right, so we'll make a start in a minute. I think we're slightly early, and Chris being Chris, he's stuck in
Chippy tea
traffic.
night. Chippy tea night.
You've had your chippy tea night.
Lovely that was.
What chippy tea is it Friday?
No, not in Birmingham.
Chris always has
Oh,
chips before he
Always
does this
Thursday.
show.
I'm in Solihull, sorry. Not Birmingham.
Nothing's normal
posh.
in the blue side of the town, is it?
Now, let's just make a little comment about what Chris has just said there. Gareth, just in case you don't know your Midlands, right? So Chris lives in a place called Solihull. It's for people that have £150 on the lottery and all that. They move into that kind of place.
Yeah.
But what they failed to tell you is that they don't have an S postcode for Solihull. They have a B for Birmingham postcode.
92.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, mate. It's still B, just so you know.
We get out the bath to go to the toilet up here.